made it easy for people Oh, yes,
Section order and one meeting. But just and see the result. One nation. Everyone here today. Organizations. And before we get to that, and here.
Right there. No, that, consultant, yes,
Yeah.
being representing the
Here.
and Sharon and the state pastor, APEC.
It is the trustee of the United Methodist Church. Thank you for being here. I'm trying to have.
Right.
Today's a day of the objective is to hear from you. What do this for exactly negotiate.
Would be. And represent
Yeah.
thank you guys very much for meeting with us. Taking the time. I know that you're great with the so very appreciate you taking this time. We're grateful for you're willing to hear more about the work Apex received, Christiana, and we think this property can be used creatively and effectively make a lasting impact on the community. Just a word of background about Apex Baptist Church is to walk, love all, and serve all. We have over 3,000 members, over 1,200 members in Apex. We have first Sunday worship services, combined average attendance online, and nearly 600 each Sunday. Our campus was all two city over 80,000 feet. Staff of 17, including 3 passes and a $2 million rating budget. We are very committed to being a community-oriented congregation. We provide for numerous community groups, Scouts, AA, Anonymous, District Society, Cross Flags, annual prom show, statewide agenda, as by prom dress and accessories for girls in need. The kids program feeds 132 kids, 9 schools every week. Sometimes community garden area. In particular, we're proud of our relationship with the town of Apex. 150 years, the town of Apex and Apex Church have worked side by side to effectively. This symbiotic relation continues today in multiple ways. Methods of being held on the same weekend at Peak Fest and in big the Apex Reach project, which for decades has sent youth to the community each summer, making homes here warmer and drier. Hoping the next iterative relationship is at the town purposes to house the community development farm. A bit more of that is what I was going to do today.
Great. Thanks again, opportunity to hear. I'm speaking on behalf of of us I know because he is out of the area. I felt better down here. With that, yes, has been serving out of 8,000, and just as you can see in the there are there. One of the center, there's information and results. That's pretty good. Most importantly, help bring effects and trying to create cultural understandings. And then fast forwarding the immigration services is one of those things that was also created by PSI Louisiana to help individuals who are needing legal support and assistance. And also we work a lot on racial equity, creating racial equity teams within the church and in the community, trying to create sort of that understanding, racial healing, racial understandings. And then also during 2021, PSI worked closely with the Centuries Funnel around COVID response and recovery, serving regions 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, which were a 10-county area with COVID response. And so just kind of sharing a little bit of what they have done. But make sure you understand is that, we know about community development, separate to the church, which is PSI, needing to do certain things for the community. So that we can be a little clear that there's not the income is so where people work on this services of the things at the end of the one mission. What's that mission? The listener is the people, unapologetic and back and what do we longer family services continue to grow? Right now, the main resource center, but there's a lot of we also want to get one-stop place where people can go and know where to see the information resources. So when they get purchased, happening, we envision that some place centralized that place where community the social colors, not only by PSI, bringing together other or needs. So being able to lock arms with other organizations in the community. Work begin to lay the foundation to what could be long-term, 3 years, 5 years, perhaps having a welcome center. That would be the conversation to have of what that looks like. PSI is definitely interested and invested in visioning moments with the community to talk about what would that look like so that it becomes an inclusive, safe space for all. And so that's what we would like to see. Now, for you to know what PSI Family Services is, not the church, our community development work, this is basically what we do is address the social determinants of health. This is where it's at. So for us, we are in line with the plan and we embrace the plan of the town of Apex to become a welcoming community. We have through the Family Resource Center information and referral services where our staff connects people to other resources in the community using a platform called NC Care 360, which is something that the state has developed. It's part of what used to be the North Carolina 211, if you are familiar with that. But what this allows is a place where care management can occur. You go into a platform to place an individual, make the referral, and follow that coordinated care through that platform. On occasions, there are people who do not want to be on the platform. And so we have an out of network NC Care 360 resource database that also connects people to some of our partner agencies for other services. Services that include food, housing, rent assistance, utility assistance, employment, healthcare, you know, you name it, anything that people can come to, we send them out. In-house, we have our parent family support. We do parent education. We do tutoring support services. We provide immigration legal services at the center still. Other part of this has to do with our community outreach and education through a team of community health workers that right now we're trying to expand with volunteers as well. We would go out into the community to promote healthy living, to be able to build understanding about mental health, be able to connect people to resources. We are planning more health and resource fairs so people would know about these services. We are training individuals as mental health first aid providers. And so if you're familiar with mental health first aid, individuals can become certified and then they go back into their community and educate others or support people who might be going through a mental health concern. And then different health promotion activities. Racial equity, inclusion, and healing is at the very core of the work of Fiesta Cristiana. One of the things that we are working on is to do more racial equity training, starting first with clergy of all faiths, not necessarily just of the UMC church, but being able to bring these trainings about equity, inclusion within the church and outside in the community, to have these healing circles so that communities of color who have gone through trauma for different reasons can have an opportunity in a safe space with a facilitator who has been trained and have these conversations about what this has done for them and their families, how they can move past from it, how they can grow, how they can affect change in your community. We also have cultural gatherings, and again, the Apex Latino Festival is one that you're familiar with, but as a way to not only affirm our up-and-coming generations in their culture and identity, but also to help others understand what the culture and identity is to the community. Transformational leadership is one of the key components that the administration of Fiesta really works on. Mostly here is about making sure that we're creating change, positive change in the community, starting first with our youth. So there's a leadership and a community engagement initiative for youth, where youth learn how they can get involved with county government, with other leaders, how they can affect change, how they can advocate for change, how they can be part of the solution, how they can become leaders in the future. And I believe many of you have been a part of some of their meetings and met some of the youth who have actually been talking about some issues that they're learning about in the community. We do advocacy work as well. Housing justice is there, language access, immigration rights, voter participation are all of the things that Fiesta works on. And you may be familiar with some of the work that they're doing right now with Habitat for Humanity, with the Fiesta bill, trying to promote affordable housing. We also work to try to avoid people to lose their homes. So they're working with the trailer parks in the community that recently are finding themselves in that situation where they have to make a decision about what's going to happen. But these are the kind of advocacy mobilization work that Fiesta is involved in. And then finally, for us, as we move forward in 2024, we want to be able to continue to grow what we're doing. And so we will be hiring a community development officer just to do the work. And in order to, again, be able to keep the community development arm separately, we will be establishing a CBO, a 501c3 non-church related arm of the work that has to do with community development, and then engage individuals as more individuals as community health workers in the work of doing services, working on mental health, and then launching a development campaign that will be working on for the sustainability of the organization. So that's a little bit about Fiesta. And again, thank you for being a partner. And we hope that we will continue to partner on some of the work that will benefit the residents. Thank you.
I just wanted to add a couple notes if I could, and these are not related, but just so that you, as a council, can understand them. Fiesta Cristiana is its own separate church. Oftentimes you see churches who have Hispanic ministries or Spanish-speaking worship service. That is not the case. Apex UMC launched Fiesta and hired Jose Luis back in 2008, but it has since become its own church organizationally. And so it's important to kind of understand that it is a standalone church. While we continue to support them, we do so in terms of providing space and financial assistance. But they're organized, they have their own pastor and staff on their own. Second, we have had the properties professionally appraised. We know that they are worth more than what the town's latest letter of intent offered. However, the sense from church leadership is that we would accept this offer if the town were to make some guarantees to provide space for the community development arm of Fiesta. And then last, I just want to clarify that I say the sense from church leadership because as Methodists, we are quite methodical. And that means we have a number of processes and procedures, not unlike the town. And while we have discussed this idea a good bit in church leadership, we have not taken a formal vote. And so any property sale will need to go through all of our formal Methodist processes and receive approval from the appropriate church bodies before any formal real estate transaction could occur. I got.
Wonderful. A lot of great information. I'll just say, in my time of knowing you guys at Fiesta and UMC, you've done quite a lot. I mean, this is just a snapshot of what you do. So I just want to thank you on behalf of the community. I do have one question about the mental health first aid, and then we'll move on. What's the minimum age to receive that training?
Right now, it's adults that we're looking for, yeah. Eventually, we want to be able to get youth to be trained as mental health first aid providers, but right now, the capacity is to support adults to be trained and then go out into the community. But in our plans is that for the youth who participate in Fiesta, being trained as mental health first aid providers using the youth mental health first aid curriculum. So that's on the plate for our next fiscal year.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much. Before we move on with questions, I know Pastor Jose is on. I would like for him to jump on real quick and make an introduction. And you want to share any other thoughts before we move on?
Thank you, Mayor and everyone. Can you hear me? I am actually traveling right now, so I couldn't be there in person. Hopefully everybody can hear me well.
Yes, sir. Yep, we got you.
Great. Yeah, and just like the mayor just said, this is really a snapshot of much of the work that Fiesta Cristiana has been engaged in since its founding. As Pastor Laura Catherine explained, Fiesta Cristiana was established in 2008, connected to Apex UMC, and part of the reason, as I recalled it, for Apex UMC was a decision to remain connected to Apex at that time, where there was a lot of growth in church membership. And the other aspect of that was the fact that Apex had changed. The demographics, the historical demographics of Apex had changed, and part of that demographics included new neighbors. And so that became, in a way, the DNA of the start 16 years ago, approaching 17 years. And I think that DNA permeated all of Fiesta's work. And so I remember the first outreach, one of the first outreach that were initiated to serve Hispanic Latino families connected to the new ministry was actually computer learning. We set up a computer lab in what we call currently the Family Resource Center. And if any of you have ever walked into the Family Resource Center, there are actually these tables all around the big room that can be brought up, and computers were connected there. And we were teaching Spanish-speaking families how to use computers so that they could serve their kids better, that they were being utilizing computers in school. And so it has always been that we also hosted a Wake County ESL program as this first 4 years. We were a site that served hundreds of individuals every week, 4 days a week on the Apex campus. And those initial years is also where the relationship with the town was strengthened because of that Apex Latino Arts Festival, which historically has been a partnership with the town in all its facets, and has been as many of you have participated and witnessed, something that has brought our communities together. I have been honored to be a part of this from the beginning. I continue to be passionate about serving the community. Certainly, COVID brought with many new challenges, but also many new opportunities. Some that have been named in the presentation that Fiorella made. But part of it also has been internally for us, as part of Fiesta Cristiana, this discernment that alongside we need to move in the direction of establishing a community development arm, a CBO, community-based organization, to really continue to serve the families that we serve, and not just continue to serve, but even provide better enhanced services. And I also want to say that I am glad to know town leadership's commitment, because we have had many numerous conversations, and I am glad to live in a town the last 16 years, and to see leadership flourishing that understands that it needs relationships with non-government agencies like Fiesta Cristiana to accomplish its goal and for the well-being of community. And I know that that's not something that it is just said, but I know that the town leadership really believes that the partnerships with organizations like Fiesta Cristiana are essential for the betterment of our community. And so I'm thankful for the opportunities and the numerous opportunities we have throughout the year to partner in numerous ways. And again, just to not to repeat what has already been made in terms of the presentation, but just to say that lives have been transformed through this work. And again, thank you to Pastor Laura Catherine, as she represents Apex UMC, for their continual commitment. They had a vision. I always say it was not a human vision; it was a God-given vision to serve our neighbors, and it continues to this day. And to all of you around the circle, because I know how much you believe in what Fiesta Cristiana does in our community. Those are just wanted to say those remarks. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Pastor Jose. Go 49ers, by the way.
Thank you for adding that. That makes it perfect.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw a snowball at you now.
All righty. I do want to add this. I want to thank Assistant Town Manager Demetria John, who's been going back and forth with the council and to both organizations to try to bring this together. So having this meeting allows us to really, put everything on the table and ask those questions, so it doesn't have to delay, going back from one person to another. So this is the objective today, to ask those questions and hear directly from you guys. So with that in mind, I would like to open it up for questions.
And Mayor, if I could just touch base on one matter that is not necessarily the elephant in the room, but just the thing that there is probably question about why, and you mentioned this earlier, this is not a point where we're going to be engaging in negotiations back and forth. And that's, for those who are watching this was other than the room, the reason why that is the case is, ultimately, anytime the town is going to be involved in any sort of major acquisition or things of that nature, we want to be able to have the same abilities as any private buyer would, which is to be able to make offers, make consultations, and more or less discuss what we feel is the price or pricing and other factors in a way without overly revealing, our position. It just puts us into a position, and this is why you'll see we have a number of, we have closed sessions. We're sitting there talking about how much we value the property, what we think our uses are, and things of that nature. The reason why we have to do that is we don't want to put ourselves into a position where if you identify how much you're willing to spend, then you're going to get a counter offer that's going to be higher, because that's how business works. But with that said, that conversation is something that I think is going to continue, and something that I think will continue to happen. But this information that we are getting, in my opinion, helps for us to frame an idea of what are the other aspects aside from simply the land transaction, but what are the other aspects of this entire transaction are. I mean, we're very fortunate to have an organization such as, such as Fiesta in our community that's there to help speak for the voices that don't get heard. I mean, that's an important thing. And that's whether that's an advocacy or whether that's just in helping provide services. And I know that as a town, we have oftentimes provided funding to various organizations that have an expertise in providing help in an area that we as a town just can't. Great example is Western Way Crisis Ministries. They can provide food directly to a family in crisis, where that's something that as a town is very hard for us to be able to do. That's why organizations like Fiesta are very important, and why we really appreciate, Pastor Catherine, the work of the church, because it helps us provide what we need in terms of providing support for those who aren't the most vocal and who aren't the ones who step forward and say they need the help. They're the ones that, quite frankly, need the help the most. So us getting an opportunity to hear this, and more importantly, have the town hear about the level of work, dedication, efforts, and how that makes us as a town better from you guys, helps us make that better decision as we start talking about if this is something that we want to make sure that we're, that we want to do. We don't take the spending of the town's coffers light. I mean, we just can't. We have an obligation to do so, understanding that there's a limited amount of resources and a lot of things that need our attention. But one of the things that we truly value is making sure that we are making investments in the components of our community that haven't traditionally received that investment, or more importantly, as you guys can do as well, you're a force multiplier. The amount of resources, the amount of support you guys provide is something that is much more than we can help provide. And we applaud you for doing that. So I know many may be watching or in the room listening and wondering, hey, how much are we going to pay for this? Or want to ask questions with regard to, what are we going to do with the property if we buy it and things of that nature. We're still very early in this process. I understand the church has to still go through its board in terms of identifying what, if any, offers, or even if you guys decide you don't want to sell. And I know that internally we have to do the same, but it's important that we start this process in the way that we have, just for that, in terms of us being able to hear about the additional resources that you guys are providing, because that's something that we need to account for as we're looking at how we value the entire transaction.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right. I'd like to open it up now for any questions from council to Bella or Reverend Catherine. Catherine.
I had a question. So you guys do some really amazing work. I think that's goes without saying. But if you did a word cloud of this presentation, I think you would find it'd be 80% alignment with Wake County versus the town of Apex. And so immigration, voting, health, wellness, those are more health and human services county functions, the way I think see it typically happening. So my question is, what's been the outreach to Wake County about them leading this, about a partnership, or those kind of things?
So Fiesta right now has a ARPA grant with Wake County, and they have also worked with Wake County Human Services about a lot of the community health improvement type of work. So that has been a lot of the work there. But then specific to Apex, it's specific to the work that we've been doing since 2008. That's all been town of Apex versus,
But this presentation and this proposal, has that gone to Wake County?
No.
Okay.
This is specific. The work that we're looking to do moving forward through the Family Resource Center, which is housed in Apex, is for the town of Apex. The work that we do related to Wake County has really come from the Community Health Worker Initiative. That sort of what I was talking about when COVID hit. We got mobilized at a larger level, right? As we had to reach a larger reach, and that helps sort of really create an understanding that community health improvement had to take a larger scale because of the larger components of it. But everything that Fiesta has done has been within the limits of the town of Apex and working with people who either come to the town to receive services or who live in the town to receive services.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just maybe, Jose Luis, would you speak, you shared with me just about immediately around the church, what the Hispanic presence is and how engaged they are in what's going on with Fiesta?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Just if you would share, I mean, you've shared with me the importance of this particular, the location being, why is the resource center helpful to be in this part of Apex?
Well, one of the things that I named specifically of the location of the properties we're talking, in 2008, again, when this outreach started, downtown was actually one of the most affordable places to live in Apex. And so it made sense that a lot of the influx of new immigrant families were actually moving to that area, and some have remained in that area. There are actually, and those two Latino businesses have been in existence since 2008. Compare Foods, which is just one block away. Today it has a different name than it had at the time. And then Tacos Mexico, that is still there. Antonio still same guy that's been there 17 years, and even before that. And just right one block, of course, we established the Family Resource Center. So three locations were interacting. And again, you know, when Mayor Gilbert was serving with the town as a police officer, he and Vladimir and I would often just chat in the parking lot of Compare Foods about some of the issues happening. How do we improve and serve this community? And we would get people like Antonio involved. And so it kind of became that location strategically an area of outreach. And we've hosted numerous health events, health fairs and outreach right there on that area because of that. Fiesta hosted the largest COVID vaccination event in the state when COVID was not being reached to Latino families. As a matter of fact, the person that was in charge of all the whole COVID response for the whole state got vaccinated on that event to give more publicity to the work. And so again, like Fiorella pointed out, COVID brought new challenges and also opportunities to broaden the scope. I know that, you know, with some aspects of service are more connected to the county versus what the local towns do. A lot of times for our families, the Latino families, that line is very blurred because, you know, they're still navigating how everything works. And so the impact for us has been, while we're located in the town. I mean, I have, as a matter of fact, my first house where I lived was right there next to the Family Resource Center on the Apex campus, and I have been in Apex since the beginning. So I moved in 2008. A lot of the families we serve, because some of the like the COVID vaccinations were not available, they would drive from out of town to our town to receive services. The immigration clinic is an example, and so it's become kind of a hub that attracts also families that are looking for services. And because of the gentrification of the entire town, honestly, because of the rise of housing costs, many of our families have been forced to move out. They can't afford to live in Apex, but they're still connected to Apex. They still come to Apex for services. They still come to Fiesta when we offer events. They still come to the Apex Latino Arts Festival and so on and so on. And those connections are still ongoing. It breaks my heart that we're losing them because of the crisis of unaffordability. But I believe that that area right there is become really because of those connections, historically, an area people recognize where, they build community and we provide services and we make connections. I don't know, Laura Catherine, if in that conversation that you remember, I missed something, but
No,
that's.
that was not, in fact, I just wanted him to hear that it isn't just services geared towards Lake County. I mean, there's a very specific focus towards Apex and particularly the immediate area.
But just as a comment, it sounded like everything that he just said, it would be a referral if the town of Apex was in charge of it. It would be services provided by Wake County potentially, if it was a county facility. So there wouldn't have to be a referral, it could just be done there potentially.
Right, so, yeah, so for example, the information and referral services will, someone comes into the Family Resource Center and they're asking for jobs or whatever. An assessment is done by the person who's there, and they'll say, okay, what is it that you need? So if the person is an Apex resident or non-Apex resident, the referrals are made within the town or any other resource that's available. So like, for example, if they, one of that's happening, they need appliances, but we don't have any appliance place here in Apex, they might be referred out, but the referral was made within the town to a resource out that's available. Likewise, if there's a resource that is within the town, it is done here. That's why we have that vision of the one-stop shop, because the ideal would be to bring all of the people together in one space so that when people come, they don't have to then leave to go somewhere else to get the resource. They can just access the resource right there, right? That's the vision of what we like to see. But the referrals are made for resources within the town or outside of town, depending on what it is. Because if it's healthcare, you might not have it here in the town, it might be somewhere else, right? But all services are rendered within the town.
I'm sorry, one quick question as a follow-up to that, because and allow me to take a moment to just kind of be real during the conversation. A number of the services that we're providing are for Latino families, Spanish-speaking families, a lot of the families that kind of need a lot of the resources that aren't available or get overlooked by resources. Would it be fair to say that because of the nature and type of the population that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, being as close to downtown and remaining as close to your original location will only maximize your ability to continue those efforts?
Definitely.
Okay, and then the next part of that question is, because of the nature of the populations that you are serving, I know a lot of our conversations, or at least the conversations that we hear, is we could basically co-locate additional organizations with you. Would that impact negatively or positively your ability to do your job? If we were to say, bring another organization to help use or stay in that location along with you.
Right. No, I would ask Pastor, but I would say that no, it would not, because we've had the conversation about there are so many need for resources in one place that actually it would help support and amplify the resource, right? Because there are things that are available, and for example, like the Alcoholic Anonymous, right, groups that meet, they're there. That's not limited to just Spanish speakers. I mean, like, well, if you need a Spanish session, you might need that, but if basically there are bilingual Latinos who would need the services just as much, right? Or if there's a place that's needed for, we all know right now, the digital divide is still very big, and we need to get our people, trained up. So that is digital literacy. We offer it to all people. Can we offer it in English? Of course. Can we offer it in Spanish? Of course. But that's what the inclusion part means, right? So if we're able to lock arms with other organizations to amplify something that we don't have, or that we can't give directly, or if we have something we can give directly that the other doesn't have, that's the idea and the vision, right? So Pastor, I know you've had some thoughts about what can happen in those spaces and how it reaches all populations that might be vulnerable or living experiences that Latinos have right now, right? Because of whatever it may be, poverty or language access.
Yeah, one way to also, look at this is through the values of our work. And one of our values, and we don't just say it, I mean, this is how Fiesta operates, is collaboration. Nothing that we do alone. In reality, we collaborate, and we have Again, I just going back to 2008, Western Waycross Ministries offices were right across the Apex campus near what is called the Christian Life Center, almost in next to Anna's Pizzeria. And every time someone came in there that didn't speak English, and that happened almost daily, I was called to come and translate. And so we've been collaborating with another critical partner for our town since the beginning. Would we be open to collaborating and would it enhance the work? That's been my experience, that it does enhance the work. Now, we do have a number of partnerships across. We don't necessarily have many of those partnerships where we're sharing spaces, except with Apex UMC currently, but we're not against the legal clinic that we cited serves over 200 families every year, and we do share spaces for that work, even though it functions almost like a one entity. So I think one thing to not miss here for me particularly is that while we offer services, the reality is that many of the services Fiesta offers wouldn't exist if we were already offering them holistically to everyone. I mean, I wish these services honestly did not exist, that they could just be offered through the mainstream systems. I will speak to one aspect of this, college. A number of years ago, Fiesta launched a college readiness program because I saw that every time our high schoolers were graduating from Apex schools, they were not pursuing college careers. So we sat down, we talked about what was going on, and we launched PREPA, a college readiness program. And we launched it at a year that was high number. There were 12th graders that year graduating. The previous years, 0 had gone to pursue a college career. That year that we launched PREPA, all 6 went to college. Now, again, we can here, go back and debate what was missing. A lot was missing. The reality is that Fiesta provided a service that was critical that our public school system was failing to provide. And we had to step into the gap. I wish that that's not the case. We're working towards changing systems too, but in the meantime, we need to be in the business of saving lives today. So I just cite that because I think I could sit here and share thousands of stories, that of that nature. Some history of the town has been incredible. Not always our chief of police has been friendly to the Latino community in this town, and Fiesta has to step in there too to advocate. And so again, I think that what we're naming here is that hopefully everyone understands we need each other to serve better our community. That's how I approach it. That's how I approach collaboration, and I want to strengthen our relationship.
Can I ask a couple questions? So first of all, I appreciate all the services over the last, 15, 16 years, right? Clearly Fiesta Cristiana and Apex UMC are an asset to our Apex community, right? Directly through the church services and indirectly through all the volunteer services, community services being provided. And then I truly appreciate that. I want to kind of bring it more, kind of a little bit nuts and bolts, specifically about these 2 properties that are in question here. So just first of all, try to understand, so the 2 properties, one of them is Fiesta Cristiana. Is that the family resource center we talk about? So all these services are just exclusively offered out of that one house, or is there another facility that you guys operate?
So there is a family resource center that is currently housed. The address is on Sunmore Street. That is not one of the properties we're talking about. The 2 properties, one of them currently has tools in it. We call it
the tool house.
Yeah. And those are the tools that we use for Apex Outreach Service Project. And so those tools and the house would be empty. The other house has been in flux and used by a variety of things, especially in the pandemic and changes on the local church campus. most recently, some of Fiesta's operations have moved in there. But so currently, that Family Resource Center is in a separate house. There are some Fiesta offices, and Jose Luis can speak to community health workers, and some others are in there. He can speak to that. Apex has no, our staff is not present in that building currently, but that's just a couple months ago. It's been kind of used for all sorts of things.
And so is it more like administrative offices, or are you actually receiving the public in that house?
Jose Luis, I believe it's always been administrative, but as the House of Hope, people come to that, I just don't know.
Yeah, this has been fairly recent. During the pandemic, it was kind of an operation for some of our outreach, yeah, and particularly the community health worker team. More recently, I can't remember the exact time, I think since November. Part of what used to be Fiesta's kind of staff that shared offices with Apex UMC has moved there. And we're still trying to figure out moving forward what the arrangements are going to be. But that's right now how we are arranged.
And so you are not receiving any members of the public in that location?
Currently.
Okay.
Currently, is that correct? I shouldn't say that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like it right now what people recognize is, well, they seek for services through Fiesta, but if they come there, for the most part, we refer them back to the Family Resource Center because that's where our building family support team is. Now, we do have our outreach event coordinator currently at we call it the House of Hope. And so it kind of goes back and forth, but primarily it would be on the 203 Eastmore Street when it's like walk-ins and so on.
I should say that there's kind of what's happening right now and what the future would look like. And if this were to occur, then in our conversations, the family resource would move. And Jose was correct me.
And then so I was gonna get there.
Yeah,
So
community development
Right.
would be in what would be the towns, and the faith base would be in the other building.
And what the.
so hang on, let me ask some follow-on questions there, okay? Because I think it's relevant, right? Because we're talking about two properties that are linked to the services that we just described, but in reality have no role in delivering those services today, right? Because they're purely administrative offices. That's not where the public is actually receiving their services. And so then in terms of the vision, right? So let's assume just for a moment that we're going to come to terms and the town acquires these two properties. How does the use of these two properties change in relation to the other facilities that you already have, right? Because I'm kind of getting the sense that we're looking at the wrong property to develop, right? Because if the services are delivered somewhere else, then me, from an Apex and Apex Community Service point of view, it makes more sense to look at that facility and building that out, or coming to some arrangement there, rather than buying two, essentially random properties that have, yes, it's got a Christiana side in front yards, but really do not contribute to the mission as the public receives it today, right? So I'm trying to kind of link these two properties to your vision, right? And how, because things are going to change.
Yeah.
So describe that to me a little bit.
No, I think part of it, if you've been on our campus, we're not talking a big distance. They're all on the same block. So, but where it currently is would not, very small, like within the block. But I think because those spaces are fluid, but also when you take those two and combine them, you've got a much larger space. The Family Resource Center is limited, and the conversations we have frequently are around a lack of space. Because especially during the pandemic, and Jose, feel free to jump in, but the services expanded, and much of our church services are not occurring. So there was empty space that expanded. And so now we're looking at now what, what do we do? Because we're back, when we are using the spaces. So there's a lot of that. But we would you, I don't know.
And I was gonna say that Pastor and I have been talking about this as well, because, the Family Resource Center could be a space where the administrative part of PSI can remain. And there, the others, because it's like an L shape right there, so it's like, like Q and more, I think it's like right there. So, in order to maximize the use of those two facilities to be able to serve more people. The Family Resource Center right now has a, meeting room that's probably from where you're sitting to here, right? And that's about like how much we can do. But having the other two spaces allows us to open that area up to do more classes, workshops, support groups, those healing circles, all these different things that they've been wanting to do at an expanded type of thing. And so this way, the Family Resource Center presently can house some of the administrative, do some of the immigration law services, but then these two facilities can be open to do these other services with more expanded space for meeting and for service delivery. And Pastor, you can speak more to that, because I know that you and I talked about what that would look like. Now, the vision would be take that corner, make a nice, beautiful welcome center. We don't know how much those new houses.
So I'm gonna get there next. So like in your vision, right? Who's building this resource center? Is that the town? So the town will develop that property, will build a resource center, and Fiesta Cristiana will continue to take up space there and deliver services?
That would be nice.
Okay. So I want to be specific
Yeah,
about this, right?
no.
Because like
I think
these are conditions that are basically set of the transaction here, right? Which basically burdens the town and the use of that property, right? And there's a cost of that, and there's therefore a price of that, right? And so I'm trying to, again, kind of break this down a little bit, so we have the information that we need, right, in order to kind of say, okay, like, is this the best use for this property in town, right? And how does that affect the price that we're willing to offer, right? Considering alternate uses, considering the cost of development and all of that.
I think there's an assumption here that I want to speak to, and maybe it's something that it's good to bring to the table. And it's my understanding that the vision of this leadership is to serve all residents holistically, particularly often those who have been historically marginalized. If that's not the vision, there is no going to be a vision of anything.
Yeah, but listen, I want to kind of diffuse that one, right? Because you just rolled a grenade in the room. There's no argument on that front, Pastor. Like that's not what I'm saying at all, right? The question is specific to these properties, right? Yes, we are obviously interested in serving our community. We want to serve our underserved community as well as everybody else, right? The question, at least for me, is, are these the two properties that will unlock that service, right? Or are there alternate ways of working together, right? That achieves the same outcome or potentially a better outcome, that is kind of disassociated from these two properties that we're talking about.
Yeah, and again, I think the answer to that could be no. Right now, that's the reason that's been the location is because of Apex UMC's vision in 2008. And that's where the vision has been laid out. Are there opportunities for that vision, for new visions to expand that to other locations as part of a partnership? The foundation of that is, to me, is still what is the vision of the town? Because it's very hard to dream dreams with organizations that don't align. I feel like there has been an alignment, particularly with the new leadership. I just met with the new community development director before my overseas travel, and that was what was communicated, that there are possibilities of dreaming, that there are opportunities to engage with nonprofit organizations. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, that's what I'm hearing. And so again, I'm a big dreamer. And I think that, we put forward dreams, but it necessitates a partner at the other end that is listening, that is engaging with us in the relationship. And again, as a, you know, not just as a pastor, but just as a Latino resident, right? I do care to hear this town wants to serve the Latino population in Apex. I care. And that's what I continue to hear. This gives a venue that I can communicate to the thousands of families that we serve that this group really is listening. This is what we want to engage. The nuts and bolts, yeah, they will come as we move forward with a common vision. Otherwise, it's just very hard. So yeah, I mean, like Fiorella said, she and I have had all kinds of dreams about what might happen, but I think we're right now, you know, still in that process of, you know, making sure that this can work. And does it have to be that location? I think that is a location. And I think we start there because that's where we've been. And you know, I think that Fiesta is open to other opportunities for sure.
That specific area has been where the church has discussed.
Okay, and that's fair. I just, you know, again, I'm just trying to pick this apart a little bit, right? And again, I'm not questioning the services offered or even, you know, our path forward together, right? I'm just trying to kind of bring it back to the transaction that we're talking about. Now, on that block that we're talking about, where the 206 and 210 properties are located, there's one house on the corner which I don't think is owned by Apex UMC, but the rest of that block is all owned by Apex UMC, correct? And so, what is the view on the other properties that are currently in that space?
Well, the one is, as you said, it's private residence, and the other is a church staff where the Apex UMC church staff is. And then the back is where the family resources are currently. But understanding that the town would not want to house church-based ministries, it makes sense to put the community development arm in whatever the town would have, and to put whatever worship elements that Fiesta have in there.
Before, I'm sorry, Councilman,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Gabby has to leave, take care of something. Do you have any questions before you get out of here? So,
Sure. I mean, I wanted to bring up what I think is the other elephant in the room. And ask a question to the churches here. So I strongly support your mission. This presentation is amazing to learn more details about all the work that you're doing. And I would like and support the town supporting your mission. The way the town supports nonprofits like this is through an annual grant program, funded to the tune of around $72,000 last year, maybe $75,000 this year. So the question I have in this conversation, excuse me. Well, first, are you aware of the program? I think Fiesta Christiana applied last year and then pulled the application, or there's some issue. I don't remember what happened. Okay, great. They got it back, right? Yeah, that's that. So yeah, so I mean, that's the mechanism we have to support missions like this. And it's funded at a certain level, which $72,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but I think compared to other local municipalities, it's, I think, on the upper end or normal available funding. Why are we talking about property acquisition to build a center for Fiesta Christiana as opposed to just further or more support to our nonprofit program? Because a nonprofit program, you guys do great work, but there, of course, are lots of nonprofits who do great work. So we have this process to put in applications and evaluate them and allocate the money appropriately. So why are we not talking more about that and how we can support this as opposed to the property acquisition?
Church is at a pivotal state due to outstanding debt. That we've got to make some hard decisions. As I said, we don't know exactly how those are going to take us. But where Fiesta currently is, they've capped and we've capped how much space can be offered to them. And so depending on how those decisions play out, that space could either stay the same or be reduced. If the town were to invest in this vision, then they would stay the same for the short run and possibly expand.
any other questions?
I just want to make a comment that I think is relevant in this conversation. Fiesta Christiana was invited to be part of 8 organizations in Wake County that were chosen for a cohort that are of, these are all nonprofits that are BILPOC, led by people of color. And one of the commonalities of all these nonprofits is that they struggle to have any property from where to deliver their services because of the historical economic gaps they've faced. But yet they're the ones that are right there in the margins. They're doing the hard work, day to day, and it's a reality. And to me, I wasn't surprised to learn that. In reality, it just confirmed, that as we, why is this central, this conversation we have around properties? Properties are essential to provide services. They really are, right? And so, and organizations like Fiesta, in reality, do face often a lot of challenges to be able to have the resources that are needed, serving populations. Any population group is a challenge, any population group. Once your list includes immigrant populations, refugee populations, populations that are non-speaking, non-English speaking, single parents, and so on and so on and so on, that challenge multiplies. And so, and on top of that, we still have to figure out, are we going to even have a space to provide the service? So I just want to mention that because this is not a reality Fiesta faces. This is a reality that BILPOC-led organizations face. And so just something that just wanted to bring, because I think it's relevant to this discussion. I don't think we would be having this discussion if that wasn't, the reality for organizations like Fiesta.
And I wanted to follow up to what you were asking before, when you're saying, well, what's the vision moving forward, like you're saying, right? If the land, was purchased, then we know the town will probably not be able to invest in developing something right away, right? So we would say, okay, let's say maybe the next 3 or 5 years, we can continue providing those services there while we engage with the community around a conversation of what should be there, right? And we've talked about a community center, a welcome center, a place where is that one-stop shop that we're talking about, right? So if we were to take that corner and create a space where job development can occur, small business support can happen, the information referral can occur, gathering spaces, right? And so that way people would know we have this resource there. This is an area people are familiar with. It's easy to get to, that kind of thing. So when we were doing the dreaming, like Pato says, we would say, well, it would be great if the town can really invest in this way, but not just the town. I mean, Fiesta can also invest in this way by getting those easy zone grants or looking for affordable housing grants or those, larger grants that would allow us to also invest. And in doing that, having space to be there, to do the sport, to bring in an area where our youth can gather. I mean, we need gathering space for our youth, the state part, right? But so that's kind of when we sit down and saying, what are the possibilities? You're like, oh my gosh, could you imagine, right? So that would be the ultimate, if the town is able to take those properties, we know it's going to be later, right? Later and be able to develop that, then we can take time from here to now to engage the community around what does it look like and begin to identify those investors, get those sponsors, get those individuals that we can build something that really becomes a space that communities feel they can go to and get what they need, right? Not have to go fish around, period.
Okay. And so again, that the location is really more historical relevance, right? Because, Fiesta has been there for 60 years, that's kind of the space that people are familiar with.
There are some practical, I'm sorry to cut you off, but in terms of that resource, there is some practical concerns where the lot is, make it just very hard. Where the resource center currently is really
Right.
hard.
Which is on Moore Street, right? So it's the same block, but around the corner on Moore Street.
Yes,
Okay. And so what is the 207 property, which is right behind 206? Which one is that? So there's because there's a third house there.
There's the staff house on Hall Street.
No, like
Another one.
on Moore Street, it's like the corner of Moore and South. The two is, sorry, it's
Okay.
behind 210. I'm sorry, it's behind 210. Which, what's in that house? Sure.
So just make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. This house here, what's this?
There is no house. That's
Oh.
by a retention pond.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
by a
is the
retention pond.
resource center, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got my bearings. Thank
No,
you.
you're good. Okay.
All right, Councilman Jacob, you good on questions?
I'm good, right?
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
I can piggyback on what you said earlier, just in terms of why invest in this versus like the senior center investing in the seniors.
Right,
You know, I mean, this is a particular population that the town would be investing in.
sure.
Particular population.
I'd just like to ask a question to staff about, or let me go back to you guys, with the affordable housing, you have here, housing justice, and how you connect with the town and our vision of what we're trying to get done. I want to hear from both of you and staff on that. Can you share what your vision on that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Pastor, do you want to speak to that for the housing justice, the work that you've been doing in the past and moving forward?
You can speak to that too. I mean, again, historically, Fiesta, one of the first ways that we started to respond was with the inaugural Fiesta builds that we Habitat really wanted to reach the Hispanic community, and they were noticing that there were literally zero applicants, zero. When in reality that those are families that are often the ones that qualified. And so the Fiesta builds, which were houses that were actually built right here in Apex. Well, I'm in El Salvador right now, so I shouldn't say right here, but in Apex, were really to increase the awareness of those opportunities. My understanding is that since those inaugural Fiesta builds, there have been over 30 Hispanic family home owners. So we were effective in doing that. We have been of course, engaged in at the heart of the conversations related to the mobile home parks, and created teams within those communities to be liaisons, community liaisons, to really be engaged in those conversations about displacement, massive displacement potential, and really being in conversations about how to strategize to keep those families, or at least have plans to serve those families as they face those hardships. And as was pointed out earlier, when families facing potential homelessness, evictions, and so on, this is why we use the term housing justice in a way. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like often with, for example, government agencies, they have limitations. They are not going to be, they're going to go only as far as their programs allowed them. With Fiesta, we're just not going to let a family sleep in the street. And so we're going to house them somewhere, whether it's with one of our parishioners, in a hotel room, in some location, until our team feels those families are safe. And so our programs are not the only way we serve. We have a higher calling, I feel often, to be as compassionate as there's no limit in a way to how we are going to serve families. And so we're engaged in numerous conversations, even more recently in other ways too. Fiesta is a founding member organization of One Wake. Currently is the only Latino organization that is a member of One Wake. And so we are, that is beyond the town, clearly, more in the Wake County area, as well as other partnership and strategies related to housing justice. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, no, that's what we've been presently doing, right? And moving forward, there was the vision about what if that became transitional housing, right? What if those land, but it's not enough. Like it's like 30 units, right? That's the most you can get out of there. So the idea was like if we can get space where people can learn then financial literacy, right? How to build that capacity to save the money, to get the credit, because a lot of individuals, at least the Latino community, are not familiar with that. It's cash and carry, right? If you come from a different country, but here everything is credit and it takes time to build credit. So helping people learn to do that, learn to work with realtors, support local realtors who can get people to housing. And we even talked about, is there a way to connect people to lending companies like the Latino Credit Union that is more friendly and open, to people who can receive these loans. But moving forward, that would be the kind of things that can be offered. But right now, as you all know, affordable housing is a big issue. It's really hard. Unless someone's going to dump a lot of money for a lot of homes. I mean, I love what they're doing with the hotels, right? But it takes a lot. So I think that all of us are connected from, building the generation that understands how to be good financial stewards and move into then an idea of home ownership and developing land, with homes. That's going to take us long term.
Thank you.
So a part of the work that Community Development and Neighborhood Connections is doing, and Marla is in the room, she wants to add to that, is there are several approaches here to connecting organizations to having access to safe, quality housing, right? And part of that is the town collecting that information and engaging with those partners like the county, other organizations that are regional, like the housing authorities in Wake County, to get those resources to those organizations. We don't have organizations that are actually here in the town of Apex. So what we like to do is partner with those agencies where they can offer those services to them, whether that's, if they're in a kiosk somewhere or just bringing those services to the residents here in Apex. And part of that is like last week, we met with community policing to discuss homelessness and how we can engage with those regional partners to bring that resource to the town of Apex. And part of that is getting that information to Fiesta Christiana, partnering with them as well. And so that's part, and even having access to that information on our website, getting the list of housing that's here, because we all know that according to our affordable housing plan, we're right now updating the housing needs assessment, working with a group now to determine the lack of housing that we have here in Apex and how can we connect those resources to Fiesta Christiana and other organizations that have beneficiaries that come to them, like Wake, Western Wake has individuals. And then as we see an uptick in homelessness, like our veterans and so forth, we want to be able to make sure that we connect them with those resources. And the only way to do that is for the town to bring those partners here in Apex.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to be the lead in that.
And I appreciate you saying that. We actually met earlier this month with the White Oak Foundation, right, to look at what they were doing around housing this. I think it's really proactive. And so seeing whether there's an opportunity under Fiesta's community development structure to do something similar. So we've been talking to them. And also looking at ways to partner with them in the same thing that you're talking about. Like they're doing it so well. Like how did you get it? To get it done. I mean, we learned they have a lot of volunteers, right? But at least that's a model that can be followed,
right,
and can be done. So we are exploring like who are the others that are doing this and what would it look like here. One thing that I do want to stress is though that I was one of those people who said, well, for the trailer park, for example, well, what are you going to do? People are going to leave, they've got to leave. But these are families that have settled in the town. They love the town. They don't want to leave. Their children's schools are here. Their work is here. Their friends are here, right? So it's a different tone, right? So we've got to find ways to create places where people, if they go and sell that property, then to go somewhere where they can still remain in Apex. Because right now, as Pastor said so well, it's not affordable right now, so they have to leave and leading to Anger, Wellington, Selma, right? And it's not places that people want to be, want to stay.
And Marla and I met with Pastor Luis last week before we left. We wanted to get in before and we wanted to be able to understand Fiesta Cristiana and its mission and the people that they serve, because as we build out these resources, we want to know how we can serve the Latino community, how we can serve, the Asian communities, how we can serve, all of Apex residents who are in need for housing or any kind of supportive services that we're able to bring organizations in. So that was very helpful to us. However this turns out, we still want to keep that partnership. And we still want to be able to provide those resources to Fiesta Cristiana like any other, all the other residents here in Apex.
Thank you for that perspective.
Hey, folks, if I may say one thing, can you all hear me?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, sorry that I'm off camera, but I had surgery Thursday of last week and I'm not ready to be seen by people. But so my wife and I, we've been in Wake County for 25 years, and of those 25 years, the first 15, we were foster parents with Wake County. So, we're licensed by Wake County Department of Health and Human Services, went through the training. And for maybe 7 or 8 of those years, my wife ran the North Carolina Foster and Adoptive Parent Association, which was, was put in place to provide continuing education for foster parents. They have a certain number of hours per year. And why I state this is to make it very clear that in my 15 years working with DHS, both myself and my wife very, very closely with DHS, I would never qualify the work that Fiesta does that's overlapping with the work that DHS does. If it does, it's in the margins. It's really very, very minimal. My experience with DHS and the programs that they have, they're protective, they're custodial programs, right? It's a whole different landscape that they are dealing with. They are dealing with the letter of the law as given to them by their state representatives, and they have to follow that law, and they got federal law as well. We've spent almost an hour and a half talking about stuff that by and large isn't governed by federal law, state law. It's governed by our connections to the folks that we live with and our desire to make Apex a better place for everybody. So yeah, DHS is not gonna step in and do the stuff we do at Fiesta, just so you guys know that.
thank you, Os. Appreciate that. So, back to council. Do you guys feel like you have everything you need?
Again, I want to appreciate you guys coming in and Pastor Jose from Darlene from Ecuador. Appreciate the commitment.
El Salvador.
Oh, sorry. All right, that's correct. I appreciate, again, I appreciate all the services that you have been bringing to the town and continue to bring to the town. I enjoyed learning a little bit more, get a little bit more detail. I think I have what I need right now. So appreciate the extra time and the extra attention. Thank you.
Yeah, what you?
Yeah, I don't think this is a good question. They actually asked the questions I and getting more information on, so I appreciate the information. I was able to, wasn't able to hear the presentation, but I did look over it last night. Nobody here, I don't think would debate they don't provide amazing services. So, hey, and, maybe some fun for everything else that y'all provide. You know, we have a big decisions to make as far as how much in these types of things. That's something that we have to decide as a council, what our role is. Yes. And, you know, specifically, whether this property is something purchase and utilize, you know, that's very possible.
Thank you.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem, you good?
I absolutely do.
All right, staff, you good? Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. You know, 16 years ago, Pastor Jose, I was standing with you. I still stand with you today. And I fully support this. So hopefully we can figure it out and get it done. Alan, can you put this on a closed session for the next council meeting? Because I know you guys have a timeline you're trying to meet as well. So when you get to a decision one way or the other.
I would suggest one after, considering the 5-hour meeting we have ahead of us next Tuesday.
Right, yeah.
It's gonna be a bear, that meeting.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. So, yeah. Okay. Sean says.
I say record length, actually, if I had to guess.
It's up to you, still want to do it.
No, we're good.
We'll be able.
The next one.
I was gonna ask Reverend Laurie for something, but I'll send an email.
Are you sure? Good.
I would just say that for Fiesta Cristiana, thank you, right, for entertaining us, for listening to our petition. We understand that the town that has to make a decision that's good for the town, and we hope that in making that decision, whether it's to purchase the land or not to purchase the land, that we can continue to work together. Our vision to work in this way, to reach the community still stands. We would hope that that space will be a good space where it can continue, right, because it's known there. But if it's not, then we can work together to find what can work best for the town of Apex and the residents and the communities we're serving.
Okay, very well. You good? All right. I think that covers everything. I'll go ahead and officially adjourn the meeting. Thank y'all so much.